Let me guess. You're looking at your numbers and something's off. KPIs, they're not getting hit. Output is inconsistent. Margins are tighter than planned. Rework is up. Scrap is creeping higher. Deadlines keep slipping, so forecast gets adjusted after the fact. Some teams are carrying the load. Others are constantly behind. And eventually, behind closed doors, someone says it. We've got a people problem. No, you don't. If you're leading the business, this is the part you don't want to hear, but it isn't a people problem. It's a system problem, and leadership owns it. Here's the tension I see inside a lot of organizations. Leadership wants results. Employees get pressure. Leadership tracks KPIs, revenue, utilization, output. Employees get expectations like step it up and take ownership. Those two things are not the same. So managers spend the last month of the quarter chasing numbers instead of building capability. High performers start carrying the load for everyone else. Average performers hang on because no one ever clearly defined what good actually looks like. Meanwhile, customer response times slip, rework increases, gross profit quietly erodes, turnover creeps up right after onboarding or right after a promotion. Everyone feels it, but instead of fixing the system, leadership keeps circling back to the same conclusion. It's the people. I worked at a company that loved metrics. KPIs were everywhere: dashboards, targets, daily numbers posted for everyone to see. But onboarding rushed. New hires got a fire hose of theory and no practical application, a quick walkthrough, and then they were sent straight to the operations floor with one unspoken expectation: just do it. Follow the SOPs exactly, hit the numbers, don't screw it up. And when most people didn't hit those numbers, except the same top few, it was labeled as underperformance. So I went to upper management with what the numbers were actually saying. The data showed it clearly. People weren't failing randomly, they were failing predictably. They were being trained to comply and not trained to perform. There were expectations, plenty of those, but no translated behaviors. No real practice before production pressure. No structured support once they hit the actual floor. We we ended up changing the training. We changed what happened after onboarding, and suddenly the numbers moved. Not because the people changed, but because the system finally did. This is why I keep pushing back on the idea that onboarding, leadership, and performance are completely separate topics. They're not. They're one system that can either make you or break you. When onboarding is rushed, leadership compensates with pressure. When leadership avoids clarity, performance drops. When performance drops, people get blamed. I don't offer quick fixes. It's about helping leaders see where the breakdown actually starts, which is before they start swinging at the symptoms. Here's the uncomfortable truth: most organizational systems are designed for intent and not execution. Leaders assume people should just know. Managers reward outcomes without ever teaching behaviors. And one of the biggest problems is that we promote people into management roles without teaching them how to actually lead people. Then we act surprised when the results are inconsistent. Broken onboarding teaches survival, not excellence. Inconsistent leadership creates noise, not direction. Undefined standards make accountability impossible. By the time it shows up in a performance review, the damage, it's already done, quietly, predictably, expensively. So what actually works? First thing is stop staring at the KPI and start breaking that KPI down. Pick one metric that matters right now. Is it throughput, quality, cycle time, customer response, utilization, maybe even revenue? What is one question leadership rarely asks? What does someone have to do differently today for that number to actually move? Not in theory, not in policy documentation, but actually on the floor at their desk in their workflow. If output matters, what should a supervisor physically see during a shift? If quality matters, where does inspection actually happen and who owns it? If cycle time matters, what steps are creating wait, rework, or handoff confusion? If you can't answer that, the metrics, they're decorative, and managers shouting numbers won't fix it. Secondly, what happens before you apply pressure? Look at your onboarding and ask this to yourself honestly. Are people being trained to perform or just trained to comply? SOPs, they don't equal readiness. Exposure doesn't equal capability. If new hires hit the floor and immediately feel behind, your system has already failed them. The business impact is real, slower ramp up, lower productivity, higher errors, higher turnover, uneven output. If you ignore it, you'll keep blaming people for problems that you actually designed. Thirdly, redefine the manager's job in operational terms. Because let's be honest, most managers weren't promoted for leadership. They were promoted for performance. They were the best operator, the strongest individual contributor, the one who hit numbers when others didn't. And then we handed them a team and said, lead, not lead the team, not hold people accountable. Teach them what leadership actually looks like in your system. Define what managers are expected to observe, correct, and reinforce every day. What behaviors do they coach specifically? What standards do they enforce consistently? What gets addressed immediately instead of escalated or ignored? And here's the part most organizations skip. You have to teach managers how to do this. Not once, not in a 1 day workshop, in the real context of real work, real metrics, and real expectations. When managers don't have clarity or the training, performance depends on personality instead of the process. That's why two teams with the exact same tools, the same targets, and the same head count get wildly different results. That's not talent variance, that's a system design. Here's the real risk. When you fix the wrong thing, you don't just waste money, you burn trust. More training won't fix a broken system. More pressure won't fix unclear expectation. More tools, they're not going to fix inconsistent leadership. Clarity comes first, always. If this sounds familiar, it's worth taking a hard look at the system that is producing it. I work with leadership to diagnose where expectations, execution, and accountability quietly breaks down and what actually has to change to correct it. If you're seeing results slips and can't quite put your finger on why, an outside perspective is often the fastest way to surface the real issue. My email address is in the description below. Sometimes the most valuable tool isn't another program, it's someone helping you see what you can't see for yourself. Before your next hire, your next training rollout, or your next performance push, ask yourself this: if I remove pressure tomorrow, would my system still produce the results? If that answer is no, you already know where the problem lives. If this hit close to home, like it, comment, and subscribe. I talk about onboarding, leadership, and performance the way they actually work and not the way we pretend they do. Because people don't fail systems, systems, they fail the people.